Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for coming back to yet another episode of Sometimes the Old Man is Right. As usual, I am your host, Lamont Ferguson, playing the role of the old man. The old man out to sea. Shout out to Ernest Hemingway. It is good to be back. Got a brand new episode for you fine folks here. You know the deal. I stay away until I've got something to say. Wasn't supposed to rhyme. It just happened that way. And look, it still continues. I can't stop myself. But I think I've got something. This is episode 46, 46, or season 4, episode 6. Look what I've done. I've given you 6 episodes this year alone. I'm out of control. You can't stop me. 6 episodes. Come on. I know. Thank you. Please hold your applause till all of the podcasts has been announced. As I said, I'm still out on a ship. I am on the Celebrity Constellation. I have 1 week left, and then I get to return home. I had nothing to say the last couple of weeks, but then I've assembled some notes, and I'm ready. How you been? How you doing? I hope you're well. What's the good word? I'm all right. Thanks for asking. I know you did. As I said, I am here on the ship. I have 1 more week left, and it's been interesting getting acclimated to being back out at work. When you take 71 days off and you've got a nice little routine going where even if you do perform, you end up back at home, it's it takes an adjustment. It takes an adjustment to get used to. I was a bit apprehensive coming onto the ship because I couldn't find the excitement and I didn't know how I was going to get back into the routine. I had a couple of concerns. Well, one, I really didn't have a couple. It was actually just one. One was being on the first night. And I didn't want to be on the first night. I didn't want to take all that time off and then come back to a ship and then you're on the first night. Let me give you a little insight as to what takes place in, I would say, a comic's mind, but in my mind, and probably in other guest entertainers' minds, mostly comics as well. The first night on some ships, they put comedian on. And look, here's the deal. I get it. The cruise ship says, oh, well, we'd like to start off the show with a nice upbeat note and get them laughing, put them in a good mood. I am a comedian. I'm not some sort of psychiatrist or psychologist. I cannot change your mood. The first day of a cruise, first of all, the people are already in a good mood. They're on a cruise and they're going to get to go somewhere. So that already makes you upbeat. The first day of the cruise is when they're in the worst mood because it's very disorienting. You're tired from traveling to get to the ship. Once you get on the ship, it is overwhelming. A lot of sensory overload. You don't know where anything is on the ship. We got to find our cabin. All right, now we got to make our way around the ship. Is this forward? Is this aft? Is this uh, where are we going? Then they put you into a room. Here, go sit in this room, and then we're going to bring out a comedian. A comedian? What that is? Bring out a comedian and he's going to try and make you laugh. The most extenuating circumstances for the hardest job on the ship. Keep in mind, as a comedian, I'm the only person on the ship, as far as the guest entertainers go, that is doing 45 minutes of original material. Singer, singing songs everybody heard of. That's what puts people in a good mood. Magicians, a lot of the same tricks over and over again. Comic, hey, here's some material that I've honed for years, and I hope you like it. And the other thing that the cruise ship industry likes to do, they do it because it's the easiest thing to set up. You don't have to have the orchestra come in. You don't have to have a lot of setup with all the techs. You just put a microphone out there, put a stool out there, turn on some lights, turn on the sound, and you're good to go. Let's go have some food. And my setup is a bit different. My setup is it's a bit tedious, especially the first time I get to the ship. There's a movie, there's a PowerPoint sometimes. There's lighting changes that need to take place during the set. There's a lot for what people would deem to be a regular comic, as evidenced by my tech. Whenever they have the tech that I got to go for tech rehearsal, I got to let them know that, hey, this is not going to just be a dude wandering in a sweatshirt and sweatpants and just saying in the mic, check 1, 2. All right, fine. I'll see you in an hour. No, I got things that need to be done. That's what makes my show different. That's what puts me in the echelon that I'm in. It can be a bit much. So I didn't want to be on the first night. And lo and behold, I wasn't. They didn't schedule me on the first night. They had me scheduled on the second night, but at a weird time, 10:15. Normally, if I'm on a ship, my first show, 2 shows, 7 and 9 p.m. in the theater. Those shows are also family friendly. They can be repeated. It's the same show, just 2 seatings. Then a couple of days later, you'll have an adult show at 10:15. This first week, my first show was at 10:15 and it was a family friendly show. That's what I was told. Oh, this show is family friendly, which is very odd because nobody says, "Hey, honey, it's 10 o'clock. Wake the kids. We're going to go see comedy." But hey, I'll abide by the rules. And then the next night was a 10:15 adult show. So it had nothing to do with the time, just had to do with the label. And I thought it was going to be miserable. It first, I don't know. I'm sorry, I keep saying first of all. The problem with being on the first night is that people are tired and the show becomes more work than it needs to be. As I said, I can't force you to not be tired. I can't. No matter how funny the jokes are, I tell you, they are not going to make you not tired. So that is a mountain to climb to begin with. When you go on at 10:15 and it's family friendly, people have the idea that it's, late show comedy is going to be some sort of, little raunchy. But no, not. So I had a little complaints here and there, kept them myself, but they were complaints. And as it turns out, after everything was said and done, keep in mind, that first show was still work, but I kind of like the schedule. I would be great if that was the schedule going forward. It won't be, because the very next week, which was this week, it was back to normal. But that was a great schedule. 10:15, family friendly. Then the next night, 10:15 adult. Here's the thing about it that's beautiful. 10:15 on the very first night won't be a lot of people there. There won't be. There'll be people there that actually want to see comedy. So that helped. The other thing is that if you go on at 10:15 on first night, second night, there won't be a lot of people there. So you get to hold on to the one thing that is cherished and valued on a ship as a guest entertainer. Some of you don't know about this. I'm letting you behind the curtain. That is the commodity of anonymity. Yeah, I go on the second night at 10:15, not a lot of people at the show. And then because of that, not a lot of people at the second show. There'll be word that carries out. There'll be more people at that adult show than there is at the first show because the word that, oh, the comic is decent. So you go, and also it says adult show. And people want to go see that. Oh, it's going to be naughty and bawdy. They don't say that. I say that. They just say dirty. You know, I'm a wordsmith. So more people will show up. Not as many people had you been on later. So you get to carry that anonymity. You get to walk through the people like Blade. I'm a day walker. People don't know that I'm a performer. Only a handful of people that came to the shows know it. The rest of the people just think, "Oh, that's just another passenger." And that is beautiful. Not that I mind, do not get this twisted, not that I don't mind at all people coming up to me and talking to me, complimenting me on the show, or just wanting to have a chat about more about my background or have questions. I welcome that like crazy. I do not mind any part of that at all. What is odd is you end up with this feeling of like an animal at the zoo. People walking up to you and talking to you, they are always polite. They are always courteous. And most of the time, I've never seen someone not be kind. They're always kind. But it's when you walk around and you can feel and sense that someone knows that you're there. You'll hear them talk. Oh, there's the comedian. There's Lamont. Oh, that's Lamont. That's Lamont. Then you know eyeballs are on you. Then you feel as if you're being observed. That's the weird part. So you don't have that part if you go on early. That's the beauty. That's the, as I said, the commodity of anonymity. Oh, it's beautiful. But back to normal this week, 7 and 9 on the first night, and it was work, work like crazy. But it is what it is. I've had an decent 2 weeks getting acclimated back. There's been plenty of pickleball because there's pickleball on this ship. And there's been pickleball on land as well. Shout out to the folks in Cozumel at Picapoke, and shout out to my peeps over at Higgs Beach in Key West. Those were first week, second week. Next week, back to Cozumel. So that'll be fun. And I'm looking forward to that. That's how you got to be able to do this. Is you got to be able to put a goal as a thing. Hey, I got to look forward to that, and that's what I'm doing. I'm looking forward to Tuesday, even though I do work on the first night of the turnaround of this cruise. So as I said, we have one more night tonight. Tomorrow, people leave, new people come on. I will be performing 2 shows, and we will do it all over again. And then at the end, I get to return home. So that in your first 12 minutes, I gave you the workings of a ship as a guest entertainer, as a performer. In the meantime, I'll just be hanging out, sitting around, waiting for my number to be called. Feel like I'm a Major League Baseball closer when they call up and say, here's the schedule. We need you to warm up in the bullpen. Then I come in, get my own little intro music. By the way, that is one of the greatest additions to Major League Baseball is the entrance and music of the closer. Ah, it's great. You bring in the Sandman with Mariano Rivera, Hell's Bells with Trevor Hoffman, Welcome to the Jungle with Greg Gagne. All of it, all of it. I'm looking forward to this year with the guy the Dodgers signed from the Mets. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but the guy when he comes in with some Narcos, oh man, it's gonna be great. I don't know who the Padres guy. I know who the Padres closer is, Mason Miller, but I don't know what his music is. Those are the two best closers in baseball, I think. So that's what that kudos, shout out to you. Shout out for the introduction of the closer music. I'm not big on the walk-up music for the batters because you've got pitch clock. So you can't really enjoy the entire experience of the walk-up with the batter and the music. It's just a couple of notes. It makes no sense. It's actually silly. That closer, ooh, he comes in from the bullpen, walks all the way across the field, gets to the mound, throws those 8 warm-up pitches and ready to go. That's time to build an atmosphere, some ambiance with the music. That is sweet. And that's what I do. I sit here and wait for that. Some hell's bells. Ferguson's coming in, even though it's the first night. All right. As I said, that's 15 minutes of cruise ship slash baseball talk. I hope you got through it. I probably did it because of the fact that it's the lightest thing I have to talk about that I've from the notes I've compiled for this week's episode. Let's get to it, shall we? We're at war. See, that's light. We're at war. We bombed Iran. Us and Israel got together and decided, hey, Iran, here's some bombs for you. So we're at war. Here's the weird thing about it. We may be at war. We may not be at war. Depends on who you ask, who you talk to. Anybody that has some type of sense says, hey, look, you use bombs and fighter jets and all sort. You torpedoed a warship. I think this is war. But Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, said we're not at war. Okay, dude, what is this? We used all the accoutrements of war, but it's not. It's an operation. It's lasted very long for an operation. You know, when SEAL Team 6 went to go get Osama bin Laden, and that was done in the stealth of the night, and we got the notice after it was over with, that was an operation because it was done. This seems a lot like war. The president calls it war. Hell, we have a department called the Department of War. We changed it from defense to war. The Department of War. And they're saying, nah, not war. Sorry. We we thought it was war, but it's not war. Okay, you're treating it a lot like war. You're putting up hype videos. You're using Call of Duty clips in hype videos and stuff, and uh, that whole thing is that they're treating it like it's a video game, and it's not. I mean, I don't have to say this, but the fact that I do have to say this is it weird. War is not a video game. War is real. War has consequences. War causes people to lose children. That's what war does. And in the grand scheme of the human being experience, I think by all accounts, I think it's a consensus that the worst thing that a human being can endure is outliving their child. That's what war does. Think about that. The idea of someone outliving their child, that is the worst thing, right? Like that's a general consensus. That's the worst thing. It is worse than losing a parent. And for those of us who have lost parents, no, that is a hole and a void that can never be filled. That bothers you and hurts you and causes you pain till the day you die, losing a parent. And that's the natural progression of life. That's how horrible that is. And the idea of something that happens that's not part of the natural progression of life, losing a child because of war, I don't know how those people go on. And I know tons of people who have had this horrible experience of losing a child, and yet they still manage to push through because, the adage, life goes on. You've got to live for, if you have other kids, for those other kids. But for someone that's never happened to, in the look from the outside looking in, I don't know how you go on from there. I would say recover, but the truth is you never recover. But that's what war is. So while these jackasses are busy playing semantic, and not having to do anything. It's war. It's not. No, it's war. It's war. We're going to lose some people. Matter of fact, Trump said, "Hey, we're going to lose some people." Well, all right, dude, you said that pretty flippantly because it's no people that you know. It's no people connected to you. You're not going to lose your kids. And speaking of which, when it comes to the subject of war, every war boils down to one thing. It's a disagreement between two, most part, dude, two leaders of countries that had a disagreement that they can't settle. And then they say, oh, yeah, well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get some of my people to come and kill some of your people. What do you think of that? And the other guy goes, oh, no, no, no. I'm going to get my people to come kill some of your people. And then it's on. I don't know why that is still a thing. Here's an idea. Why don't we have those two dudes duke it out? Why are you involving us? What do you mean we? I wasn't in the meeting. This we weren't involved in this. This is between you two. You two meet in the ring and duke it out. Have a duel, whatever you need to do. But you two do that. Don't bring us into this. We had nothing to do with this. Now, because you got elected to the thing, you can now sentence us to go fight for you? Dude, fight for yourself. Put them up. That's what I suggest. I suggest that you get rid of wars. Get rid of wars altogether. Because the wars are about two dudes having a pissing contest, and then they order other people to go fight. They don't go fight. They order other people to go fight. Well, why don't you fight? Why don't we have that? Have the two dudes fight. We don't need to be involved in this, man. And then if one of you lose, then that's it. That's the loss. Then the agreement comes on the other side. If both of you lose, then we get two more competitors to take this on. But this whole antiquated idea of war because you two can't use your goddamn words, we got to get past this. This is insanity. So Trump, you got to fight. You got to fight the Iranian dude. Two old dudes fighting because that's what it always is, just two old people. And you've ever seen two old people fight? It's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen in your life. That's what we need to have. We need to have two old people fighting to settle the outcome instead of having young people come in to fight and die because two old people can't get their shit together. It's a suggestion. I find no holes in it. The other news thing is that we had the Clintons got in the news again. The Clintons were giving depositions, closed door, behind closed door, not public. Clintons wanted public. They said, we want this to be public. Republicans said, nah, we can't have that. And it was funny why the Republicans said that they don't want Clintons having a public deposition because it still ended up being the same thing that they were trying to avoid. This is a bizarre thing about the Epstein files because the deposition was about what Clintons knew about Jeffrey Epstein and his doings. He brought in Hillary Clinton first. What? She had nothing to do with this. She knew nothing about this or involved at all, nothing at all. And the look on her face, because on the opposition and part of the oversight committee was Lauren Boebert. Lauren Boebert is in over her head no matter what she does. I'm sorry, unqualified to do anything that has to do with a leadership job. But you sit her against Hillary Clinton, and then it becomes a mismatch that you just want to stop the fight. They said, we don't want this to be public. because the reason why is they didn't want the Clintons to have the opportunity to perform and turn it into a political event. Well, you've already made it a political event by bringing in the Clintons. You brought in what, 4 administrations ago? That's what you brought in. You brought in the Clintons because you wanted to embarrass what you considered to be quote unquote the pillars of the Democratic Party. And you must have forgotten who the Clintons are. You need to read up on history and realize who the Clintons are. Like I said, that first thing you brought in Hillary and let Lauren Boebert go and question her. First of all, Lauren Boebert was putting up pictures of Hillary in the deposition when they said they didn't want to be public. And once Hillary found out, he read her the riot act, and Lauren Boebert turned into a little girl, which in the grand scheme of things, the scale of things is what she is, and she cowered immediately. Said, "Oh, okay, I'll take it down." Wow. You didn't even just not say anything. You admitted to the infraction that you did it. You said, "I'll take it down." Good Lord, you child. She was asking Hillary Clinton questions, and Hillary looked at her like, "Little girl, I have better things to do with my time than this." Just the idea of say, "Let me tell you, one of the reasons that you are where you are is because of me. That because I'm a woman that kept fighting for women and putting in an example for women that allowed the door to be open for other women like you." I'm sure she thought, well, if I was opening the door for such unqualified women, hell, I'd have closed that door a long time ago. But no, she's like, I just opened the door for all women. And so Lauren Boebert's asking her dumb Boebert questions about Pizzagate and speculation and all this nonsense. And Hillary could not be more bothered. Then they brought in Bill Clinton. Like I told you, I don't care what you think about the Clintons. You got to know the Clintons. Boy, them Clintons, they know politics inside and out, and they know how to deal with politics, and they know the law. They know laws that you have no idea were laws. That's how well versed the Clintons are in this. They've been in politics for their entire lives. They're nearly 80 years, Bill's nearly 80 years old. He's been in it for the majority of his life. This dude knows every trick in the book. Hell, they call him Slick Willie. People, they didn't call him Slick Willie for nothing. You out of your mind? Here's the problem when you have young people like Lauren Boebert in. And this is the problem. You might want to, if I had an old man sound alert, I'd make that sound right now, the old man sound alert. The problem with young people is that they don't know that things, or don't care, or don't believe that things happened before they came along. For a lot of young people, history started the day they arrived on the planet. Nothing else happened before them. Now things are happening. And you need to read your history lesson about the Clintons. Because remember, during the impeachment, Bill Clinton was the dude that said during a position, "What do you mean by the word is? What is the definition of the word is?" And they had to search for an answer because that's Slick Willie at work. Like I said, they thought, "Oh, we're going to bring this guy in and embarrass these old people." They asked Bill Clinton to his face. There was an email by Ghislaine Maxwell that said, "Bill Clinton is hung like a horse. Are you aware of this email?" And he said, "Well, it's famous now." Good Lord, this dude. That's nothing. Nothing affects this dude. It's famous now. Hell, I put it in a plaque. I mailed it. I had it framed in my office. Like I said, you guys don't know. Young people, you have no idea. You want to bring up the Clintons. You have no idea who these people are. Bill Clinton got impeached. Now, here's the thing. This is the story because you guys don't, young people don't know this story. You don't remember this story. Most Americans don't know this story. That's why it worked how it worked. The only thing we knew about a president and impeachment is that we heard the words impeach and Richard Nixon resigned. Okay. When Bill Clinton got impeached, they're like, aha, you've been impeached. Now you gotta not be president. Well, the truth of the matter is, because Americans have no clue about history, Richard Nixon was not impeached. Richard Nixon was threatened to be impeached, and then he resigned. Bill Clinton got impeached, showed up the next day, and said, I'm still president. Read the rules. That's what Clinton is. That's Slick Willie. So good luck with that. That's how that works. I'm telling you. Like James Harden once said, I'm not in the system. I am a system. The Clintons are not part of the system. When it comes to the Clintons are the system. They are a system, is what they are. So that kind of backfired. We had a couple of clips that came out, and then it disappeared. You know why? Because we went to war, or maybe not, depending on who you ask. We went on war, not war, is what we're at. It is very interesting to think about what is going on because this is a weird random thought I had. Everyone harkens back to what they deem to be the good old days. There is a longing for days of yore, days have gone past. That's the whole idea behind the Make America Great Again movement. Because in those four words, you're saying America was great and we'd like to make it great again, as in the past. So people have the question that people ask is, well, when are you referring to? What are these days when America was great that you'd like to take America back to? That's the big question that takes place behind the good old days. But everyone has good old days. Everyone longs for good old days. Everyone has a time when they're like, "Oh, I want good old days. It was such a simpler time." That's one of the statements they always make. Such a simpler time, such a more relaxed, and people uh, idolize. They make it idyllic. The days in the past. Everyone does it. Everyone can do it. There's always an argument for it. There is, I mean, if I were to make a statement, say I think it was much better days when we didn't have a 24-hour news cycle. That that was much better for society. Not having a 24-hour news cycle because most news is bad news because that's what gets attention is bad news. So when we didn't have a 24-hour news cycle, when did you get the news? Oh, you get your news at 5 o'clock after work. Get your news at 5. Get the news at 5, 6, and the national news at 6 or something like that. Then your shows start. 8, then they just tease you. Hey, is something under your sink trying to kill you? We'll give you the details at 11. Well, now you got to stay up till 11. You got to see what's going on under that sink. What's trying to kill me? Or you got to just stare at that sink. What's under there trying to kill me? You watch at 11 and they'll tell you. If you miss it at 11, then I guess you'll just never know because you got to wait till the next day. Now news is 24/7. Causes a lot of stress, a lot of strife, a lot of bad news. Gets you down. You think, man, there's nothing but bad news. Now the counter argument to that is saying, hey, Lamont, but that news was still going on. Yeah, but we didn't know about it. The saying is ignorance is bliss, right? That's the saying for a reason. Ignorance is bliss. Oh my goodness. I didn't have to know about all the nonsense and all the crazy that was going on in the world. And it was a much less stressful time. I say that, all of that, because right now, currently living, as bad as you could imagine that things are, or no, you don't have to imagine, bad as things are, grocery prices through the roof, we're at war, not war, people hate each other because of the shows that they watch. If you watch this news, you need to hate these people. If you watch that news, you're an idiot. This is that. But all this divisiveness, whichever one you choose to say, look, we're torn on that. There's a camp in divisive, the camp in divisive. But right now, there's a generation that in a couple of years will be referring to this period as the good old days. Imagine that. Imagine the trajectory that we are on, that in a few years, there will be a generation that goes, man, these were the good old days. Good Lord. What are we doing? We blew it up, like Charlton Heston says at the end of Planet of the Apes. You blew it up. All right, let's go into the last. It's a chunk, is what it is. We've had the conclusion of Black History Month. It is now March. February is Black History Month, a month that I like to refer to as Make Black People Mad Month, mainly because of the movies that the streaming services air during this time. There's a lot of Mississippi Burning. There's a lot of A Time to Kill. There's a lot of airings of Rosewood. All these movies that just make black people angry, showing the mistreatment in history of black people. Just get you all fired up. That's what it's about. Then they'll add little tips and tidbits and factoids of, hey, did you know that a black person did this and a black person invented that? A black person, and this was a good month because they had a lot of those out there, and a lot of times I didn't know that it was a black person. And I know the people on the other side are like, what does it matter? What is it? And I say, shut up. That's what I say to you. I tell you, it always annoys me when white people try to define what racism is to minorities. You have no idea. That's very white of you to sit there and now want to dictate the terms, whatever makes you comfortable. I don't give a damn about your comfort because you aren't walking in my shoes. And until you walk in my shoes, till you live a black life experience in America, shut the hell up. Shut up with your nonsense. And what does it matter? We're all the same. We're all shut up. We'd like to all be the same. We'd like to be accepted as being the same. You ever seen any of these? One of the things I saw in the during Black History was just so crazy. Was a town. I forgot where the town was, but I'm sure it was a regular occurrence where a town that was all white, a black family managed to move in to this all white neighborhood. And there were protests like you would not believe. People, crowds of people standing out in front of their door as they walked into their house, yelling the N word, calling them names, just angry. Imagine that. Why? Because your skin color is different, but you could manage to afford to live in this neighborhood. That's why. So don't tell me about, oh, it doesn't matter, because we've got proof that it did matter. And we've got proof that it was not that long ago. And we've got proof that shows how, let me burst your bubble, how your goddamn grandparents acted when black people showed up. Just showed up. How they were interviewed and said, well, we don't mind working with them, but at the end of the day, they need to go to where they belong. And we need to go. That was a quote from a woman that was your grandmother. So I don't want to hear your nonsense. Shut up with your what does it matter? You know what doesn't matter? Your goddamn opinion. That's what doesn't matter. So we had Black History Month, and one of the things that also took place during Black History Month was I'll just briefly mention because it happened a couple of weeks ago and should have gone in depth then, but I'm just going to briefly remind us of it. That was the BAFTA Awards, the British, the equivalent of the British Oscars, where Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo took the stage, and there was a gentleman in the audience who has Tourette's, who was there invited as a guest because he is, I guess, featured or associated with a film about Tourette's that was up for a nomination. But when Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo step on stage, part of this gentleman's Tourette's is to yell up inappropriate things. He has no control over it. And he just yelled up the N word. And everyone heard it. Delroy Lindo was shook. You could tell by his thing that they handled it professionally and just went on. The aftermath of that was the crazy part of it because people were using words like, oh, if you had sympathy or for the black people and saying this should not have been allowed, then you were called an ableist, which by the way, not a thing. Sorry, not. When I would kid around with my friends for years, I would just take IST and put it on the end of a word and then just say something like that. Like if a friend of mine said, "Oh, I don't like peaches," I'm like, "Oh, because you're a peachist." See, you can't just make up things and just make that's the thing. I never heard of the word ableist before when you're defending, I don't know, people and saying, "Oh, this is that's not a thing." Shut up. Again, I'll take shots at the right and I'll take shots at the left. And this is the left. Shut up. Stop putting IST at the end of the word and making it seem like it's a thing. Because you know what you are? A wordist. That's what you are. Saying, oh, you're an ableist. No. And that's not a thing, and I don't care. But when it comes to being accepted for all society, the main point of black people in the backlash was, and I agree, as a black man, I agree. Why is it us that always has to turn the other cheek? Why is it us that has to be, oh, accepting of things at our detriment? A dude yelled up the N word, which was okay. We get it. He has no control over it. The big question was, seems kind of odd because he didn't yell that word when there weren't black people on stage. So he knew enough to yell the appropriate word for the circumstances. I don't recall anybody that was overweight being called fatty. I don't remember that. I don't remember anyone that was gay up on stage being called the F word. No, just the black people. So that's his inappropriate Tourette seems to have racial line. And that's what was bothering black people. And yes, you can ask questions about it. Doesn't make me ableist, not a word. It doesn't or I'm sorry, not a thing. Doesn't make me ableist to ask questions. That's the problem with the far left is that they just want to state something and have no questions asked and walk away. No, dude, we got to ask some questions. Because if you can't answer these questions, then you better come up with some answers to these questions or your point is moot because nobody gives a damn about your feelings. Because that's what you need to say. Like, don't ask any questions because it hurts my feelings. I'm making this stuff up because it hurts feelings. Nobody gives a damn about your feelings. Now, you bring a gentleman who can yell the N word. You know that that's a possibility in a room full of people that may have black people there. But for one person's comfort, you need to make a bunch of people uncomfortable, and that's okay. It's not. Here's how it works. As my parents would say, as any parent would treat it. Either we're all comfortable or we're all uncomfortable. That's how it works. Look, Here's the thing, you guys gonna fight over that toy? Then guess what? Nobody gets the toy. Either you learn to play with the toy together or nobody gets the toy. This is simple parenting 101. So if this dude is gonna yell the N-word in a setting where there may be other black people, then I'm sorry, he can't be there. Or he can be there, but he can be separate from people. Like put him in a room where he can watch the event and still be at the event, but no one, either we're all comfortable or nobody's comfortable. That's plain and simple. Ableist me all you want to. You can kiss my ableist ass. All right. I guess I talked a little bit more about it than I would. I am I Sterling K. Brown was I think he was also there, and it was very interesting because Michael B. Jordan, Sterling K. Brown, it just made me get very jealous. I want a middle initial. I do. I want a middle initial. Here's the thing about me, little Lamont Ferguson fact. I have no middle name. I don't. I am just Lamont Ferguson. That's it. No middle name. And here is the odd thing about this. So in show business, when it comes to SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, the reason why Michael B. Jordan is Michael B. Jordan and Sterling K. Brown is Sterling K. Brown is because you can only have one of the person's names in that business. One person can have the card. So I'm sure that there was already a Sterling Brown. So he had to be Sterling K. Brown because the person who was Sterling Brown already has a SAG card and you can't give out two Sterling Brown. So it has to be one of each. Michael Jordan, obvious, Michael Jordan is already a Michael Jordan, the Michael Jordan, Space Jam, all this other stuff. So when he comes in, he's got to be Michael B. Jordan. I don't have a SAG card. I doubt I'll ever get a SAG card because I'm not really into acting. But if I were to, I'd have to be first there because here's the I love Lucy aspect of my life. As I say that my life is a Lucy episode. There is a Lamont Ferguson, another Lamont Ferguson in show business. Yeah, another Lamont Ferguson. Imagine that. Everyone has, there's a very few people whose names are completely unique. My name is, it's a nice name, Lamont Ferguson. Lamont is French. Ferguson is Scottish. Uh, Two syllables, three syllables, sounds like a show business name. It is not. It is the name. It flows, Lamont Ferguson. There's another Lamont Ferguson. Not only is he in show business, he is also a stand-up comedian. Are you kidding me? This is my life. Not only is there another one of me, but another one of me doing the same thing as me. Think of how rare the occupation is of stand-up comic. And there's another dude with your name doing the same thing. Here's the other thing about it. He's terrible at it. Horrific. Not close to funny. And he won't tell people that there's another Lamont Ferguson because I've gotten many calls about him or people confusing me with him and said, "Oh, I talked to him." Well, if you talk to me, I'll tell you there's another Lamont Ferguson and he's horrible. This guy won't tell you, "Oh, there's another Lamont Ferguson. He was much funnier than much more accomplished than me." Nope, he doesn't say anything. That way he can get my calls and his calls, his interest and my interest. I get no interest from him because they go like, "I hope you're not him." No, I'm not him. But the thing also about is that he is an actor. He's been in independent film, so he's not a SAG actor. But if he gets SAG eligible and gets his Screen Actors Guild card and goes in as Lamont Ferguson, and then I want to go in, I have to have a different name. And I don't have a middle name. I can't be Lamont B. Ferguson. I'd have to either get a middle name or just come up with a different name. So now the race is on between horrible Lamont Ferguson and myself. I feel like Jet Li in the one is what I feel like. We just need to keep getting rid of Lamont Ferguson's so I can get stronger. The final thing in the Black History Month chunk is this. I saw this yesterday, which is quite, I found it intriguing. There was a former police officer out of San Jose, California. The story is that he is no longer allowed to be a police officer anywhere, anywhere. I'm guessing in the country. He's no longer on the list. I don't know how they would enforce that, but I guess they can. And the reason why is that he had a series of text messages made public. And the main one, the headliner of those text messages, was one where he said, I hate black people more than I hate this job. And there was a lot of other racist texts in there. That was the highlight. That's the headliner. And it just made me think because I saw the story posted online, and everyone then continued to comment about his hatred of black people. And I then commented, uh, but he also hated his job. Like, we seem to be missing that part of the thing. He's a cop who says, I hate being a cop. Cop is not jury duty. Nobody comes along and assigns you to be a police officer. He signed up for being a police to be a police officer and said, I hate being a police officer. That's the part that I thought should have gotten him fired, is that he hates his job. But he was all right with that. Everyone in the whole department was okay. You hate your job. And to be honest with you, they were all right with him hating black people too. Because if you hate, look, there's many levels here. One, I'm impressed. Yes, I use the word impressed. I'm impressed by that man's capacity to hate. He hated two things. He hated his job, but even more than the hatred he had for his job, he hated black people. That's two things he hated. Now, look, I don't know, honestly, if I hate anything. Hate? I don't know if I have hate capacity. But if I did, let's just say, for argument's sake, that I do have the capacity to hate. And let's pick something that, all right, stupid people. All right, let's say I hate stupid people. Whatever is next on that list, I don't know if I have the capability to label and attach hatred to it. You see what I'm saying? I think I only have the capacity to hate one thing. The next thing on that list, I just find annoying. It goes hatred, and then these are the list of things that are annoying. They don't make it up to the level of hatred because I feel I can only really hate one thing. I hate stupid people. Nothing else is getting up into that list. Everything else is annoying. But this dude hated black people. He hated black. I hate this job. The thing I hate more than this job is black people. Good Lord. That is an impressive capacity for hate. The other thing is that this dude, he hated his job. He used to hate and get a paycheck. Now he hates for free. He can't, there's no check coming in. Now he can't hate the job because he doesn't have the job. And now you're just hating for free. That's that is a level that I can't understand. Most of the people understood what I was talking about. Someone said, "That's what you took out of this?" I'm like, "Look here, you simpleton. I said, this is also what I took out of this because unlike stupid people, I have the ability to comprehend two things at once. And when I see a guy says, I hate black people more than I hate this job, I also say, and you hated the job. It's a weird thing when you say, I hate black people, like all black people. Like what you hate is the existence of black people. I find that highly unlikely that you hate the existence of all black people. There was a story in Canada years ago when I was touring up there that there was an 8-year-old that got suspended from school because this 8-year-old kept writing racist things on papers. And it turns out that they were taught to hate black people in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Look, there's not a lot of anything in Canada. There's not. There are more people in the state of California than there are in the entire country, Canada. So the only thing they have a lot of is land. So you can't even say, "Oh, there's a lot of black people in Winnipeg." Mm-mm. You don't have a lot of anything. You got a lot of open space, is what you have. So the idea that you say, "Oh, I hate black people," like I said, in this Winnipeg, Manitoba, how many black people are they coming in contact with? 8? Like, this is hypothetical racism at this point in time. You don't hate black people. You hate Jamal is who you hate. You hate one dude. Don't take it out on the rest of us because Jamal's an asshole. Like, even the rest of us may think, "You know what? You've right to hate Jamal. Jamal's an asshole." That has nothing to do with Jamal being black. Jamal's just an asshole. This dude hates black people. You hate all black people? You hate Michael Jordan? You you hate LeBron James? You hate Halle Berry. Come on, dude. You hate Halle Berry? Seriously. You hate all black people. Okay. It is well, now this dude gets to not hate one of the things he hates. He'll still hate black people, but now he doesn't have a job that he has to hate. The majority of the comments were the same where they say, well, now he can go work for ICE. Yeah, probably. Be a shift commander in ICE. What he can do. All right, folks. We've hammered out an episode. I've talked and talked. I got a lot of stuff off my chest, and now it's time for me to go do a Liars Club game show, is what it's time for me to go do. You can email the show at oldmanisright60 at gmail.com. Get all your thoughts, concerns, whatever it is you want to talk about, whatever it is you need to talk to me about. You can do that there. You can check all things Lamont Ferguson at lamontferguson.com. Check out the social media, Pickleball Comedian or TV Funny Man on your social media outlets. You can see what's doing there, get all the pickleball content and information. As I said, I have one more week and then I will return home. And maybe when I'm home, maybe I'll pop into another open mic because that was exciting and different. And maybe I'll do that again. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, check out the website, lamontferguson.com. You can find out whether or not I'll be there. Talked about a lot of things here. A lot of things here today. A wide variety of things. A potpourri, a veritable cornucopia of things. Some of the things I may have been wrong about. I may have been wrong. Maybe ableist is a thing. Could be. Maybe it's just a new word that the new kids are talking about. I talked about maybe we're at war, maybe we're not at war. Clintons. Talked about a generation looking at today as being the good old days. There was a lot of things. Some of those things I could have been wrong about. Some of them I could have been. Maybe no generation will look at this as good old days. Hmm? Maybe that. But you know the deal. Sometimes the old man is right. I'll see you next time.